Hey you all, I hope you guys are having a good Saturday. I hope you guys had a good week. I haven't been on here for like almost a week. I had to, consecrate, get some rest, get back in my secret place, and just really hone in with God. Um but yeah, you guys, like, remember to take your rest. Remember to take your rest, or, consecrate in God and get in a secret place. And always remember, a righteous man falls 7 times, but God will always pick him back up. So just remember that. But yeah, I hope you guys had a good week. So God has been having me in the book of Samuel, and he had me on a David series. So it's been David, like on a series of that. So I wanted to just get on here and talk to you guys because God really highlighted to me certain things about David, his character, like his heart never changed with how many enemies he had, how many people were trying to come up against him. His heart never changed. And I know a lot of people know the story about King David and Saul, that story a lot of people know about. But it's like he also had adversaries even after that. He definitely mourned for Saul. He went into a fast and, wept, for a week, for Saul. But he also had even, his own family coming against him, like Absalom, after Absalom ended up killing Amon, for what he did to his sister. How he fled, he came back 2 years later and he tried to take over Saul's kingdom, like he ended up going against them, and then David had to flee. So David ended up leaving his home and leaving everything behind and ended up fleeing. But people try to warn Absalom, like, look, this is a man of war. You don't want to play with David. Like, he do get down, even though his heart in the right place. But, even though Absalom came against David, God literally used one of his servants, because one of his servants came back in the house. And he used one of his servants to devise a plan, but that plan was actually going to overthrow Absalom. And God did that on purpose. That's why I always say God is very strategic. But, even in the midst of them fighting against each other, David was like, no, be kind. He wanted them to be kind. He did not want them to kill anybody or anything like that. But when he found out that happened, he mourned, which is rightfully so. That was his son, Who wouldn't mourn for their son? But what stood out for me a lot is because his servants were even frustrated with him because his heart was so good. They were like, Joab, he was like, so Joab was like, you love your enemies more than you love us, your servants. So like they were frustrated with David. Like his heart was literally like that, to where it frustrated his servants. But God really highlighted that to me, and like I said, David was not perfect, but he was a man after God's own heart. And, it just stood out to me. It was even one time, y'all, where David, like, I believe a servant from Saul's camp had seen David. Y'all, why he started cussing him out, cursing him? David was just like, it's okay. Just let him do what he do. Just leave him alone. I was cracking up. I said, oh, okay, yeah, David, your heart real. You really had a heart to go. But, it's important to, remember to keep an upright heart. And always pray for your enemies, because at the end of the day, they are souls. And God wants us to remember that, God wants us to remember to stay grounded in his word and to continue to have an upright heart, because you don't want to get into unforgiveness, bitterness, especially you're blameless. But if you change your heart, how different are you? How aren't you the same now? So just remember that. You know, he had me in a David series. I was like, and I'm almost done, because once you get into Kings, like First Kings, I believe David rules a little bit in there, and then King Solomon comes in and rules after David, which is David's son as well. So yeah, I just wanted to get on here. I hope y'all have a good rest of y'all day, and I will talk to y'all soon. All right, bye.